One thing to know is that you are going to make mistakes in your employment journey. This is to be expected. They might be big mistakes that impact a lot of people, or they may be little, like misspelling someone's name in an email. No matter the size of the mistake, they can feel very uncomfortable. As autistic people, we experience higher levels of stress and anxiety in general, and that might make us more afraid of making mistakes. The world isn't made for our minds, and our natural interpretations of the world are sometimes mislabeled as mistakes. The fear of making mistakes can be paralyzing from past experiences. We might feel inadequate when someone else is able to understand a workplace concept that we might struggle with. If left unaddressed, this can start a cycle of self-doubt and anxiety, where we make even more mistakes simply because we put so much energy into fearing mistakes. We've actually already gone over the first step to countering this negative thought cycle, which is acknowledging that mistakes will happen. You've probably already made many mistakes in your life so far, and yet here you are, still learning and growing. When you make a mistake at work, it's important to acknowledge it and let the affected customers or colleagues know as soon as you can. It might feel awkward, but it's always better to own up to your errors quickly than to let them sit and become bigger issues. Here are some guidelines on how to apologize at work. Step 1. Start with the words, "I'm sorry." Step 2. Acknowledge what the error was without going into too many details about why you made the mistake. Step 3. Focus on what you've learned. Step 4. Suggest a plan going forward on how you can avoid making the same mistake in the future. For an example of a smaller mistake, an apology can sound like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I realized I've been calling you Hannah for the last week when your name is Annie. I'll make sure to call you by the right name from now on." Here you have the words "I'm sorry" and a clear plan for the future. For an example of a bigger mistake, an apology can sound like, "Hi, I'm sorry I sent you the incorrect amount on this month's invoice. Receiving it must have been a shock. I've sent you an updated invoice with the correct amount, and I have made the appropriate changes to your account to avoid this mistake in the future." So again, starting with "I'm sorry," acknowledging your mistake without focusing on what went wrong on your end, and then reassuring the other person it won't happen again. Don't worry if an apology is awkward. Even if it is uncomfortable, don't try to shift the blame to someone else if you know that it was your own fault. On the other hand, don't take the blame for things that aren't your responsibility. While learning how to apologize in a professional manner is important, we also want to be careful not to over-apologize. Some mistakes will happen that don't require apologies. These are part of the natural learning process. If you aren't sure about whether or not you need to apologize in a certain situation, you can ask yourself, was anyone else involved? Was anyone hurt by this mistake? If you are still not sure, you can ask a trusted adult to clarify. It can feel embarrassing to make a mistake at work, and we can be very self-critical of our mistakes. It's important to practice self-compassion and patience for ourselves when mistakes happen, and to remind ourselves that these can be important learning opportunities. It's also important to show compassion to other people when they make mistakes as well, and respond in a way that you'd like to be treated. When, and not if, you make a mistake at work, aim to resolve it as quickly as possible to rebuild trust, both from others and in yourself.